Welcome, everyone. It's so lovely to be here with all of you tonight and everyone joining us on Zoom. Rabbi Yosher and I are very excited to bring you this segment of the Rabbi and the Coach, and how to bring love and connection into your lives and more simcha into all of your relationships. So we'll start with love and joy. Love and joy are the most powerful forces that are in the universe for everybody, right? We all crave it. We all want it, but yet often we feel that we're unseen. We feel that we're disconnected and we're misunderstood. The truth is that love isn't missing when you're feeling that way. It's often spoken in a different language that you're not being able to understand. So, what do I mean by that? Now, imagine English and the person that you're speaking to only understands Chinese. Can you possibly have any kind of communication with each other that way? No. You can't. Or let's say you're speaking Mandarin Chinese and the person you're speaking to understands a different dialect. It's very difficult to understand, right? So, healthy communication, a healthy relationship requires healthy communication. It's a rhythm of a give and a take, okay? Healthy communication is like playing catch with someone. You throw a ball, the person that you're communicating to needs to catch the ball, hold it, understand that there's a ball in their hand, have it firmly gripped, throw it back at you. You need to grab it, firmly hold it in place, and throw it back. That's communication. That's playing a friendly game of catch, right? Now, what happens is if you feel like you're always giving, and you're not getting as much as you're giving, you're going to feel drained. Connections only come when the giving feels natural, when the giving feels like a privilege, not a burden. Okay. At the same time, you also deserve to be cared for. So, how do you do that, right? We want to learn to how to gently and clearly ask for what we want and be able to give to others in a way that they feel that they're being cared for. Okay. So every person, child, adult, has an emotional tank. That emotional tank needs to be filled with love. Okay. We're looking to fill it with love. It's an emotional love tank. When the tank is full, we feel secure, we feel significant, we feel alive. But when it's empty, we feel fear, we feel defensiveness, and we feel like we want to withdraw. Okay. So, all right, guys, everybody filled out their questionnaire. Um, there's there's a key on the table, but we'll go through it anyway. So you want to look at the number, add up the A's, B's, C's, and D's, and write it down. Okay. A, if you have more A's than anything else, A, your love language is the words of affirmations. I'm going to go through these and explain them further, but I'll just start with telling you a little bit what each one is. So, A is for words of affirmations, B is quality time, C is receiving gifts, D is acts of service, and E is physical touch. Okay. Dr. Gary Chapman is the person that came up with these five love languages. These are five primary ways that people give and receive love. And if you're able to give people love in the way that they understand, in the language that they are able to comprehend, you're filling their love tank. Okay. So let's go in depth with what each of these mean. Okay. A, words of affirmation. It means I see you. I value you. For some people, words equal life. Encouragement, kindness, appreciation makes them feel deeply loved. Okay, it's not flattery, by the way. You're not saying things that aren't real, but that for that person, when you do say it, it's like you're giving them the world. B is quality time. For someone whose primary love language is quality time, love is spelled Time. Okay, which means what? It means that it's not about fancy outings, about going places that are like, wow. It's about giving that person your undivided attention. Presence is the most important thing that you can give to someone whose primary love language is quality time. Okay. We have C, receiving gifts. You thought about me. That's basically what that person is feeling, right? The gifts are, it's not about a material gift that's being given. It's not materialism, but more so meaning. People whose primary love language is gift receiving, the fact is that they think that, oh, you thought about me before you saw me. Whether it's something small or big is irrelevant. It's the fact that that person thought about it and thought about them and what did something about it prior to even being with them. Okay. D is acts of service. Help me, help you. Okay. So acts of service or actions speak louder than words. That's what that person's primary love language is. When what we do to make our partner's life easier. So if a person's primary love language is acts of service, whatever we do to help them make their lives physically easier, that's the way you could help them. And E, physical touch. Hold me, hug me. Physical touch communicates presence and communication and connection, right? A hug, a handhold, a gentle shoulder tap says, I'm here, I'm with you, I got you. Okay? I'm going to take a minute and share my own personal story with the love languages. So, before I even knew the concept, this concept's been around for, I don't know, probably 20 years, maybe, right? Maybe about 15, 16 years ago, it came into my field of vision. Before I knew about it and understood it, and this is my husband sitting here, by the way. um, Before I knew about it, I would go out and I would buy my husband these gifts, extravagant, not so extravagant. I kept buying him things and he would look at them and say thank you and put them aside and have them and we wouldn't even look at again. And I kept going, really? Okay. Then he would call me and say, can you do X, Y, and Z? Can you send this email? Can you do this? Can you do that? And I would say, I bought him to myself. Of course, I would never say that again. I would say to myself, I bought him a gift. He didn't reciprocate that I bought him a gift, but now he's asking me to do things. What am I, a slave? Are you kidding me? Right? This concept came into my world, and I kid you not, and I did this with him on a date night, and I would recommend everyone do it with their spouses. And the primary love languages for me came out as, yes, gifts. And for him came out as acts of service. And I said, oh my God, how dumb was I to think that way? I was doing for him what I wanted, not what he wanted. And when he's contacting me, asking me to write an email, send a letter, do something, and I'm rejecting him, I'm emptying his love tank. He's asking me to fill his love tank. He's making it that easy for me. My eyes were closed. I didn't know any better. Okay. So that shift in and of itself of knowing that for each other. Now he calls me, do this. And even if it's something that he can do himself, which most of the time he can, I say, okay, I'll do it. Stop. You need something? I have an opportunity to fill that love tank. I'm going to do it. Everything stops and I do it. Whether I get all the gifts or not, that's a different story, but we can take that up another time. So that's my story. And yeah, so I'm gonna give it over to Rabbi Osher. So that's the story with the love language. Rabbi Osher, what do you think?
I would like to make a small editorial to what was just said.
A small what?
Editorial. And this is a foundational truth that needs to be internalized in every
Sorry, can you say?
relationship that we have in our lives. The basis of a relationship, a healthy relationship, and how much more so a holy relationship, is not love. Love in Hebrew, ahava, is equal to 13. Aleph 1, Hey 5, Vet 2, and Hey 5, 13, which equals to echad, oneness. Love is the act of alignment. And in order to align with someone who seemingly is secondary to you, because after all, the first consciousness that we possess is the consciousness of ourselves. In order to be able to get out of ourselves and align ourselves with our significant other, whether it's our spouses, parents, our children, our friends, et cetera, it's not love. Love is the act, it's a verb. Aham, Aleph, Hey, Vet. In Hebrew grammar, when we put Aleph before a verb, it means I will. Ahav means I will give, which means love requires the ability to give first of yourself and then yourself completely into the love. And I would like to make an editorial that it's not give and take. Because give and take becomes a tug of war after a while. But give and receive. To be able to gently receive what the other person has to give. And so long as it's a fluid back and forth, that's helpful. But the foundation for the love, we ask that everybody please turn off your cell phone ringers. The foundation for the love is not love. The foundation for the love is respect. A love that's not founded upon respect ends up revealing itself as nothing more than manipulation over time. Because after all, if I love you, it means if first there's an I, and I choose to align myself with you. And because I made that decision and I'm afraid of rejection, now I have to more or less convince you of the need for you to reciprocate. Without respect, that will turn into manipulation and control, narcissism, and so on and so forth. The love languages means this is the way we define or internally define the way we feel aligned with someone. How do we feel aligned with someone? And so for one person, it could be words of affirmation that could work for the individual. But without respect over there, and I've sitting with many couples, you see this, unfortunately, and it's not just exclusive to couples, but also parents to children and children to parents, etc. That love in itself, because I have a certain unique way of feeling love, then you must also have this as well. So like the coach said before, I receive the gifts and then he needs this and so on and so forth. It's not to fill a love tank. This is a fluidity of a relationship that in any given moment, each and every one of us must be constantly focused. What does the other side need? What do they need in order to be able to feel aligned, first and foremost with themselves, as we discussed in several relationship classes, if you cannot love yourself, if you cannot be aligned with yourself, you will never, ever be able to love someone else. At best, it will be manipulation. Out of fear of abandonment, out of fear of rejection, etc., etc. You'll never be able to be vulnerable with a person. Vulnerability requires self-alignment, be comfortable with oneself. All of these items are necessary because ultimately, it doesn't so much matter which present it is. It doesn't so much matter what you do with that time. So long as the other side feels that this is coming out of a deep respect. And what's the difference between respect and love? Love is based on commonality of what we have in common. The common items, the common interests, the common ideas, ideologies, etc., etc. That's what draws us together. But what keeps us apart is respect. Because if you're married for more than a year, more than 5 years, more than 10 years, you know that although you have commonalities that draw you together, but what we often focus our lives on are negotiating our differences, the things that we don't have in common. And each one needs to lend themselves to the other. And this becomes a love language. A love language is a language in which we transmit alignment and is based on the other person. And so the truth of the matter is, we know that each one of these love languages, we have the need for all of these.
Right.
Who doesn't need to hear words of affirmation? Who doesn't need to be hugged and touched? Who doesn't need quality time? And a gift from time to time. Obviously, we might have 1, 2, or 3 that's more primary. These love languages are associated with our childhood, the way we receive love, or the way we didn't receive love. That's why we need it. These love languages are tuned to the frequencies of our souls, the way our souls are able to transmit themselves and receive someone else. But one thing for sure, no matter how it's been in the relationship thus far, every given instant is a new creation. And therefore, no matter what happened until now, from now, if we decide to really tune into our other halves, whether it's our spouses, whether it's our families, our children, and really find out what makes you feel loved. You see, one of the worst things that could happen is stagnation in a marriage. What is stagnation? It doesn't mean there's no excitement. That doesn't necessarily mean that. What it means is, take our phones, for example. Our phones require constant updates to update itself to signals, update itself against viruses, technology updates, and so on and so forth. And then with our own relationships, we fall in love, quote unquote. And as Disney puts it, and they live happily ever after. Anybody knows who lived happily ever after? Right after the chuppah, they go out after the marriage and they live happily ever after.
Disney is the death of marriage.
The Western culture teaches that. If you watch movies and shows, there's no awkward moments, silences that last 30, 40 minutes, an hour, 2 days of thinking. There's none of that. It's immediate back and forth. We need to constantly update ourselves regarding our spouse's needs and wants. I remember when I first came here to Great Neck, I was sitting with the men's club. And one of the guys who was married at that point, maybe 25 years, he says, how could I love my wife? She's not the same 18-year-old woman I met. She's now in her 40s and so on and so forth. How could I possibly love her? She's not the same. Well, we're not meant to keep our love static. Love is the mechanics of alignment with the Shema, with the other person, to make the other one with you. And that requires constant updates. So here's the challenge. When's the last time you asked yourself, you ask your spouse, you ask your children, what is it that you need from me in order for you to feel loved?
That's it. Because we tend to give love the way that we want it,
And that's really that
not the
respect.
way that the person. Generally, the rabbi, they say that men need respect, men need to feel respected, women need to feel loved. What do you think about that concept?
I think ultimately there's a truth there based on our sources, the sources of the Neshamot. I could tell you that men want to feel wanted. What
Wanted.
what's the difference between wanted and needed? Needed is you have a talent, and I need you for that talent because after all, I either cannot do it on my own or I don't know how to do it, and therefore I need your talent. But only that talent, everything else keep to yourself. It has nothing to do with what I wanted. Therefore, at that point, you're going to feel rejected. Wanting is to want the entirety of the person, you as a whole, everything about you, and not just what I deem positive. But as we discussed in several of our classes, that which I deem negative is actually my tikkun to be able to work through and for us to grow with. Instead, and if you don't want the person, then you're going to say, well, that negativity I don't want, I don't like, keep it to yourself. And that gulf is going to start growing over time because then you don't want me. You want my abilities, my strengths, my money, my this, but not me. And you could see how that could impede and empty out of relationship fairly quickly. And if your spouse or your child or your sibling is sensitive, it's going to be very quick. Because the more sensitive they are to love, the more they feel when it's not flowing correctly. But that's okay. You know what? It's okay to say, I feel that our love is not flowing correctly. What do we need to do about it? That's, after all, an invitation to grow.
So that goes back to the concept of communication, right? So if we're talking about communication, you have to be able to communicate properly, correctly, in order to be able to express yourself correctly. And what about the concept of the more you give, the more you love, right? The more you give to a person, the more you're going to love that person. That's why this concept of the love language resonates with me personally. Because for me, when I understood that for him, this is what he needs, and I know that one of my children needs words of affirmation. So even though it's not coming naturally, I incorporated it because I wanted to give more, right? So the more you give to the person, the way that they understand it, the way that they feel it, the way that it fills them, right? And the more you give to them, the more connected you become to them. It's not about how much you take from someone, by the way. It's about how much you give them. That's what really sets the tone with how much connection you have with another person.
Well, in Judaism, there's a foundational teaching which psychology, Baruch Hashem, has fairly recently in history, caught up with, which is emotions. Behaviors don't always follow emotions. We know you could love someone dearly, but not act lovingly towards them. As a concept, you love them. But in Judaism, we know that Judaism isn't about the feeling, the emotions. I love God. I feel so connected to Israel. I feel so connected to God. Judaism is a relationship between creating creation, between us and God. And to create a hospitable home down here for us as a husband and wife. And that, as we look at the Torah, is not concept driven. It is behaviorally driven. The more you act, the greater the love. Because while behaviors don't always follow emotions, emotions will always
Follow
be
behavior.
consistent, intentional, deliberate, consistent behaviors. So if you don't feel love in your relationship, that's only it means that we're not acting into it, because you could act your way into love.
Mm.
And that's why knowing that the significant other requires a special type of expression, which requires us to get out of our comfort zone in order to express it in a way that they need to hear it, quote unquote, whatever, hear, like internalizing it. That in itself will draw the emotions out. And when your significant other will notice that we are going out of the truth,
Bless you.
that we're going out of our ways to act in such a way that's going to elicit love. As Shlomo Melech says, just like water reflects, a face reflects off of water, so too does one's heart reflect off of the other's heart. So if we start acting in a deliberate way, and after asking, what is it that you need? This is all I'm here for. My entire purpose as your other half is to serve you in our marriage, not to gain from you. The other side has to have that mentality as well. It's the same, it's mutual. My entire purpose is to serve you in the marriage. And when both do this, well, now you have harmony, shalom, each one lending and blending with each other.
Sure.
Yeah.
Do you need love in a marriage?
Do you need love?
Yeah.
As opposing to just respect?
Respect, common ground, same goals.
Love is the act of oneness. What you definitely need is vulnerability, comfort of vulnerability. What you definitely need is respect and empathy. Love will result from this. The alignment will, because here in America, they teach you fall in love. What does that mean? Think about those words, fall in love. Fall in love means you trip. I'm not kidding. It's
fall in a hole.
exactly. And you accidentally fell.
Thank you.
But just like you could fall in love, you could fall out of love.
Yeah.
We don't fall into anything. You can't fall into a relationship. You have to rise up to love. In other words, you have to get out of your comfort zone in order to be able to give the other what they need. That's love. You remember in Fiddler on the Roof?
Yeah.
Do you love me? Right? And what did she say? You must be sick today. You must be sick. Why? Because nobody spoke about that. That was a modern invention. His daughters are falling in love left and right. And when does Golda say to them, after 25 years, I was sick.
Acts of service. She comes for him and quick.
And what is she saying? She's saying that if that's not love, I don't know what is. In that sense, they got it right. And it's not an emotion that for 25 years we felt emotions. For 25 years, we served each other.
Okay, see you guys later. I'm going home.
I had a client once say to me, how can I love someone that I don't even like right now? Right? So I go back to the beginning portion of what we were talking about. We talked about how to communicate better. We talked about how to, the Torah says, love your enemies, right?
No.
It says, do good to those.
Love your neighbor.
Okay.
Love your fellow. Sorry, your fellow, not your neighbor. Love your fellow.
You send out that love, eventually it comes back. But if you don't like someone, there's no way they're going to like you.
Well,
That's the energy you're sending out. If you don't like someone, there's no way you could expect them to love you.
The difference between love and love and like is love and respect. Like is more love and respect. And what the
Like is more important than love, if you ask.
essentially they were the same as I don't respect the other person. And the question is, why don't we respect?
Okay.
And this is lays at the crux of respect. Respect is to be able to identify the uniqueness, or love is what we have in common. Respect is to identify the other person's uniqueness and hold that in regard. So why not respect? Because maybe you have different needs and wants and ways of processing.
There's also ways of shifting your own perception and perspective. Sometimes you fall into these things and you start to look at things in a very skewed way. It's
Right.
not real, right?
Right.
And communication actually helps with that. If you're able to express yourself properly and you're able to talk to the other person rather than assume whatever it is, we tend to build stories in our head that aren't real.
Well, the thing is, it was called tap therapy. A very interesting model of therapy for TAT, T-A-T. Yeah.
Okay.
And what they posit is something very powerful. And we spoke about it last week in one of our classes. That 98% of our relationships, especially marriages, are our parents versus his parents.
No.
You have epigenetics, you have nature and nurture, and so the narratives that we have are not necessarily something that we create as much as something that's been there for a while and now it's triggered by a particular point of behavior
Okay.
that's bringing it out now as part of the tikkun.
Okay.
We just need to know that we are the editors of chief in this generation of this narrative. So what do we do with this narrative once it comes up?
Good. So can we have our lovely moderator ask some of the questions that we've got over there?
Can I ask a question? Sorry.
Yeah, of course.
Why do you say that like is not important than love?
Because like is aligned with respect. If you respect someone, you're going to do your best in order to create a common goal, in order to communicate better. Love is, for lack of better terms, it's a vague concept. Like Rabbi said, falling in love. What does that mean? It's such a negative thing to fall in love. But if you like someone, you like what they stand for, you like what they're about, you like their thought process, you like what they do. If you like them,
Then you will follow.
Then
Like
you
love will eventually follow.
love, real love, will eventually follow.
Because in the respect, once again, requires the one who's doing the respecting to get out of themselves and focus solely on the other person. What did they need? What makes them tick? How do they understand love? Not what makes me feel good. Like sometimes a husband can come home and ask his wife, what's for dinner after a long day? And she could say, well, I ate a cracker, so I'm fine. So that's good for you. You might be on a diet, you might be on this, but I might be hungry. Well, so
I'm good.
I'm good. Or a wife could cook for the kids what they like. The husband says, I'm hungry. And she says, well, I made food for the kids. You want to take stuff from there? So there's no respect there. In other words,
By the way, for a man, that's a big no-no. So you have to always make sure you put your husband first.
Right.
Men need to be respected. They need to feel that respect.
Right.
Also, I feel like a lot of times people mix up the knowledge, the concept of love and infatuation.
Mm-hmm.
Like sometimes we start dating, right? And then let's say that initial infatuation, because they're this and they're whatever your qualities are that you want. But it's not true love.
No,
And
that's a love without respect. That's exactly
So
what it is.
it's great that you just brought that up, because our next class on December 3rd is going to be based on the 10 mistakes that very smart couples make. And one of them is exactly that.
I can't wait for that.
I know, it's gonna be fun.
Lisa.
Yeah, so I wanted to give my personal opinion on that. I understand that you saying that it's negative like to say people fall in love, whatever. So, but I do, it's very hard for me to really comprehend how can people, of course, respect is the basis of love and everything. I agree with that. But it's like people could just also be together, respect each other, serve each other, and love cannot develop. Like this is something that we cannot explain. So I do believe it's a combination of loving the person, beginning it's probably superficial because it's from outside only. But I do believe it's a combination from loving or liking, but loving also the person and respecting the person and building it on a daily basis and grow. Otherwise, I don't know. We could get married to whoever and say, okay, I'm gonna serve him, he's gonna serve me. But is there a guarantee really to love the person?
Well, and once again, see, American culture, Western culture sold us on a lot of pie in the sky kind of concepts which don't hold over time. There's a very famous video we should share of Mrs. Sharfstein. She was the chief Rabbi of Cincinnati, in which she says when she was about 21 years old, she came into the Rebbe for Yechidut for private audience, and the Rebbe started asking about different shidduchim prospects, and she was negating each one. No, this one's not for me, and this one's not for me. And then the Rebbe basically stopped her and said, "The last time we spoke, you mentioned to me that you were an avid novel reader." She says, yes. And the Rebbe said, do you note how you distinguish between novel and reality? And she said, and the Rebbe continues, says, in a novel, they start this passion, there's fire, there's this and that. But in reality, you have two small flames who really have nothing in common other than their flames. And they mutually choose to combine their flames into one. And each day henceforth, with each act, each word, each experience, each up and down, we throw a little twig, a branch, a log, and then the fire grows and grows, and then it encompasses. So it's not like what we say, like in Western culture, you fall in love and then everything's gonna be, no. We see, I remember,
And then you wake up.
I remember when I was 14 years old, I was watching Oprah, and I was just in my developing stages at that point. And I remember she had the first power couple of Hollywood, as I remember, Tom Cruise and Nicole Kidman. Fresh off of Days of Thunder, that just made a movie, that just got married. And I remember Oprah turns to Nicole Kidman and says, do you love him? And she says, are you kidding me? He says, why? Oprah says, why? He says, look at him, he's gorgeous.
Wow.
And all the audience, yeah. I wish I could be that gorgeous like Tom Cruise, so I could. And what happened 3 years later? And 3 years later, they're ripping each other in court, literally. Why? Because what? They're not powerful. They don't have money. They don't look good. They don't. What did they have? What they didn't have is respect. So yeah, you need that chemistry, that it says, well, we're coming up to the parsha in just about 2 weeks. It says when Yaakov first saw Rachel, he kissed her and he wept. And there are many explanations as to why. He kissed her. That's the first thing he did upon meeting her. Then he started crying. And there are different explanations. And one of the explanations is that he realized that in order to love her, he's going to have to work for 7 years in her stead so she doesn't have to be uncomfortable. Because her father said, we can't let her go. She's my shepherd. I have sons. She is effectively my shepherd. Her and his sister are my shepherds. Yaakov says, if that's the case, I will work in her stead. And our sages explains that love, although you can have that initial draw, that initial soulful connection, but the reality, the difference between love and infatuation is love must have respect, which requires you to work for it. Otherwise,
Be willing to give a part of yourself up for effort
not just
and
about
trying
your
and
entirety of yourself, because otherwise that becomes infatuation. I love what you're doing for me, how you make me listen to all the music, all the love songs, the 80s, the 70s, we all know them. It's all what you're doing for me. My life is empty without you. I can't live without you. I want to hold your hand. In other words, it's all about what I'm gaining from what you're doing for me. And because you're doing that for me, I'm willing to go out of my way to make you happy. I'll die for you if I have to, because after all, you're a trigger for my happiness. But if you stop being that trigger, it's never about us. It's about what you're doing for me. And as soon as I no longer need that, because I didn't respect you, I was infatuated because I needed something. That becomes dangerous over time. Those kind of loves either become very, very tumultuous, or unfortunately, more dangerous than that is that they become like two boats in the middle of the night, just crossing each other, once in the morning, once in the nighttime, and that's about it. And that's very sad. Yeah.
Reasonable. So one question I have is, I looked at the list of 5 points that Gary Chapman highlighted, but if you are missing, and these have come to mind. First one is, ladies often say, I like the guy because he makes me laugh. That's missing sense of humor. The second one is shared areas of interest. Then comforting me in times of stress and supporting, maintaining looks and appearance, maintaining health, and I guess growing spiritually. Why are these not included?
Because all those are symptoms of a healthy relationship. They're not core. Because what we often unfortunately focus on are symptoms, and we try to treat symptoms, not realizing that there are one or two cores that are often unfortunately overlooked for one reason or another, or altogether out of ignorance. So you could say, you make me laugh. That's great. You make me you make me very, very, like, you bring humor to my life. That's great. But can I go through the thick and thin with you? Can I be able to, as we spoke about it in our previous session, the Michelangelo effect? Am I able to chisel out my own redundancies for the sake of this relationship? In other words, what we're focusing over here is on core. Obviously, every item that you brought is very important, very important. Depends on the person, but very, very important. As symptoms, what we must first and foremost focus on are the cores. Obviously, then at the same time, you could deal with the symptoms.
The communication is the part that helps you deal with the symptoms. When you know the core, right? If that's what's important to the lady or the man, you're able to communicate with each other. You're able to tell each other, listen, how you present yourself is important to me, right? The fact that you used to have a sense of humor, but you don't have it anymore. What's going on? What can I do to help bring that out in you, right? That's what the communication part comes in, to help each other be the best version
Right.
of ourselves, correct?
And it really depends. You know, the famous anecdote as far as communication is concerned. A guy goes to buy a rose to a flower store to buy flowers for his wife, and the salesman tells him, today we have a special on roses. A dozen, 20, 2 dozen. He said, how much would you like to buy for your wife? It says, only one. He says, why? He says, roses communicate love, and save with the flowers. He said, save with a rose. He says, yeah, but I'm a man of few words. So I don't have to, only one rose is gonna get out. Sometimes you have to know your other half and respect them for who they are, and understand that this is who they are. You can't try to change your spouse.
No,
What you can do, the more you invest yourself into the relationship, the more, this is the Michelangelo effect, which means that you start with a slab of marble, which is in itself very, very, very valuable. But a healthy marriage, and how much more so a holy marriage, will start chiseling away at the marble, even though it's going to lose its quote unquote its external value, but then you have the internal image. So a healthy relationship will help the person raise And even though they might not be communicative, they might not be emotionally in sync and so on and so forth. But being that this relationship requires it, you start letting go of the excuses and the filters and the defense mechanisms that were built over years in order to align with the other person.
It's true. I think that was actually one of the questions. What if the, right, what if the partner,
See. What if my partner and I have very different personalities / love languages?
That's perfect.
Exactly.
That's perfect.
Okay.
Because you're two halves of one whole. And this is where many couples get it wrong.
You complete
What-
each other.
Where, yeah, you're not like, we don't think alike. We're not like, well, obviously, you're one half of the body to the other. You don't have two right sides, two left side. They're going to see from their lens, as we already had this exercise one of the last times where if I ask Liz right now to communicate to me what she sees when she looks in my direction and what I see from her,
things.
Right.
we're two different worlds.
Yeah.
And that's okay. Together we have one wholesome perspective. And that's where respect comes in, that I choose to
To see that.
respect and guard your perceptions, because that's how you understand things.
So in other words, we have to learn to value each other's differences rather than trying to shift and change the other person into the person that we want them to be.
Right.
We want to look at them for exactly what they are and love the differences in them and try to learn from them, if anything, and see what it is that we can use in their personality, behavior, being to make ourselves more complete, right?
Right. It's not my way or the highway.
It's not my way or the highway. And Hashem didn't create us to be equals. So
Right.
we're actually mirrors, not only with our spouses, but with our children. And I dare say with whoever is in our path, there's a reason why those people are in our path. And if we're seeing an issue with that person, their behavior, their actions, their anything, it's because we ourselves have that within us that we can even recognize it in the other person. And if you're recognizing it and if you're seeing it and it's bothering you, that's exactly why you're on this planet. And it's exactly what you're supposed to be working on. So
Well, in the
it's an
Torah,
interesting concept, but everything is done nothing is done to us. Everything is done for us and even more from us. If it's inside of us, it's going to keep coming in front of us like a mirror. It's going to keep coming up until we handle it, we fix it, we rectify it, and then it goes away.
in the Torah, when Hashem says it's not good for mankind to be by themselves, as make for him ezer kenegdo, a helpmate against them. And the sages have many different ways of interpreting a helpmate against him. You should have said a helpmate made for him. One explains if he merits, then she'll be his helpmate. If not, she'll be against him. But one of the interpretation, Ezer Kenegdo, she'll be a helper when she will challenge him. She won't just be a pushover. And this is not just for her to him, but also him to her. In other words, as we discussed before, if you needed to scratch your bicep, right, you can't scratch it with this arm. You're going to crack your wrist doing this, and you still won't scratch. What you can do is with this hand, scratch in this hand. In other words, where Hollywood and Western culture gets it wrong is that I'm here to take something from you. So don't give and take. But in reality, and the entire perspective of each side should be, I'm here to serve you. Whatever you need is my only need. And the other side does the same. And that becomes a give and receive. So when you see the other person's incongruency, instead of looking down at them, instead of highlighting what's wrong with you, I can't believe, ask yourself, what are they asking from me? What do they need
What do
from
they
me?
need from me and what
Mhm.
can I do to make
But
the
I-
situation better?
I feel like that serving someone in the Western world, we allow our ego to get in the way, right? And we're like, I don't want to serve anyone. I don't want to do
Absolutely.
anything for anyone. Why should I do this? Why should I do that? Let them do for me. So
Well,
again, it goes back to that.
It does,
people
but here's the
want-
thing,
Well,
when
well,
we know
Coach,
it's
I'm sorry, Coach brought right in the opening remarks. A comment regarding her, the acts of service. He could do it by himself, why is he asking me? And the reality is, yeah, it's sometimes it's not because, it's not coming out of like primal need, but rather an alignment mechanics. So even though he could do on his own, but it's something altogether when the one who loves you goes out of their way to do this for you. And when you're saying that the Western culture teaches us that it's silly and archaic and chauvinistic to serve and use even that kind of verbiage, serve. What do you mean, a servant? But yeah, you're here to serve. And so when that's in place, communication, behaviors, negotiations, everything becomes so much more fluid.
Definitely. Listen, the more you give, the more you love, the more you serve. Look at what a mother does for her child and get for her baby or the newborn gets nothing back other than maybe a diaper. But how much do we love our babies?
She gets a beautiful smile from the baby.
No, not necessarily. But but like Coach was saying before,
The more I give,
the more you do those diapers, the more, and it's little.
Well, even those we do with pleasure.
What about the slave?
you make us feel more like.
Dima, can we just keep it down
Yep.
because the recording is fixing everything up, but we can discuss it.
The more you do, even you wake up at 3 a.m. and you have to go to the doctors and days off and money spent and nerves and in reality, that's the act of love. Because the more you do this, the more you become aligned. And the more, and this is how they receive their oxytocin.
Mhm.
And it comes from a point, a vantage point of this is what I'm here for, my entire purpose. It's not I thought I'm going to be getting one thing, but now I'm getting something altogether.
It's fascinating. What other questions do we have?
Happy. Can love languages change over time?
Oh, absolutely. You have traumas, you have life stages, you go through different things in life. Even healing, when you heal through different issues that you're dealing with, can absolutely shift your perception, your perspective, and what's important for you at any given moment in of your life stages, right? We all carry all of the love languages with us. We all have some parts of it. It's just certain ones are more prevalent for us at different parts in our life. And if we know that that's what we will respond to and will help us to connect to our spouse better, and if we know what our spouse will need for us to do or say or behave to make him feel more connected and whole, why not do it? You know, that's really what it comes down to. But yes, absolutely. But we have to be in tune with the other person and we need to be in tune with ourselves.
So would you say that if someone's love languages throughout their lifetime have not shifted or changed in priority, does that mean that this person has lived their whole life stagnant and never grew?
No,
Or does that mean that maybe that person is really in touch with themselves and who they are and what they like and what they don't like, and they're very true to themselves and grounded?
I
Or
think,
neither?
I think both and neither, okay? Because at the end of the day, each person's what's true is what's true for you. Okay, if that is the truth for that person, that's their love language in that order of importance, then that's the truth for that person, whether it's 5 years ago, 10 years ago, or 5 years from now. Right? So you can't say that they're stagnant or Someone else can't judge that, is what I'm saying. What's true is what's true for you.
Rabbi, you were shaking your head. I was asking, and you were shaking your head. What was your comment?
First, I would like to make an editorial to something. And this, but it's mandatory. It's not why not do it for them. We must do it.
Must
If
do
you, it's not like, well, I could do it, why not do it? You must do it. If the minute love is unnatural between people. Because as we've been speaking about in a relationship class, we have dual consciousness. We have the animal soul, the ego, and the godly soul. And the animal soul, no matter how much we train it, is always going to be hyper focused on survivability and maintaining its own barriers. So, and it's afraid of vulnerability. The godly soul is the one that's able to connect to every other person easily and fluidly and looks for it. For the animal soul, even the best of relationship is nothing more than a footnote in one's personal narrative. It's like, yeah, of course, I have a job and I have a nice house and I have a car. And by the way, I'm married and I have my children. In other words, it's like all footnotes in my narrative. Where the godly soul sees that this relationship is the only thing and everything else trickles down from that. For that is we have to understand that we're here to do. Judaism, relationships requires constant behavior, not concept, not I love God, no kosher, no Shabbat, no this, but I love God, I love Judaism. Like saying to your husband or to your wife, I love you, but don't expect me to spend time with you, go on dates with you, invest in you, come back home, compliment you, have intimacy with you, but I love you so much, don't get me wrong. Right? Because for a lot of people that could work. As a concept, you love someone dearly. But in practice, where's that love? Where's that alignment? So it's not about the feeling, it's about the doing. Hashem bara lo kilasot, I got created to do. We're here to do. And the more you do, and the more you do deliberately, not, oh, why not do it? There has to be an immediate urgency in the consciousness at all times. If I have the privilege to do right now with the opportunity, I must take it. Yeah.
Mhm.
If respect is gone, can it be regained or reinstated?
Yeah, absolutely.
Now.
Absolutely. So the biggest impediment to respect is one's own ego. Because it's very easy to love based on what we have in common. You love this kind of music, I too love it. Oh, you like this food, I too love it. That's very easy. That's why it comes so natural. To keep that love isn't natural, because it's not natural to have love. What's going to stoke that love is a respect, which means until now we have yet to act and speak respectfully towards each other, but we could act our way to respect as well. Where you say that it's not comfortable for you to have the lights on, so I have to be mindful of that. You say you want to sit over, and so on and so forth. In other words, you could act your way into it by highlighting, first and foremost, just having a series of conversations. There are many great talking point cards that I use as a tool when I sit with couples, which are very powerful to elicit these kind of questions, and make the mind very cognizant of the uniqueness of the other person. So you discover what is it that makes them tick, and instead of saying, well, this is not how I understand it, try to safeguard that.
Respect requires vulnerability.
Not necessarily love requires vulnerability, because one is
To
required.
gain respect back after it's lost requires vulnerability.
All of relationship requires, but see, Rambam, Maimonides explains that the formula, this is halakha, this is Jewish law. Love is understood by a man one way and a woman a different way. The aim of the man is, as the Rambam says, to love his wife as much as he loves himself, and to respect her exceedingly more than himself. Put her on a pedestal. In other words, not what I'm gaining from you, what is it that you need? I'm going to keep on just feeding into that. Where the wife understands, the husband understands love as being the center of of his wife's universe. That everything revolves around him. What he wants, she wants. What he doesn't want, she doesn't want. He has to put her above himself at all times, speak up to her, look up to her, safeguard her. What he's getting or not getting, he has to give her whatever she needs, right, and that he can afford, and more than he would spend on himself, more than time that he would spend, more thoughts, more words, and more obviously more resources. But he needs to feel that he is number one in her life, more than a parent, more than her children. She is, and that's with that respect means what is it that you need, what is it he needs, and each one gives that,
The world stops and I listen.
right?
Only the wife should do, and the husband should do also. No, really.
I'm sorry.
Only the wife should keep the husband in the center and all the other respect
No,
will be
but-
equal. Is that it?
I thought I thought we just said. Maybe I didn't say. I didn't
He
say. I
actually
didn't-
said that the man needs to do it for the woman. I heard that, but it's both.
Thank you very much.
No, both.
So,
Oh,
so,
How about
Yeah.
if sometimes be one way, one giving a lot and the other one not?
That's going to tell you. You know, there's a question. When does abuse begin? At what point can you say that abuse began in a relationship? Where would you trace it back to? What's your origin? So some people say the first time you say a bad word, or you give a bad negative glance or grimace. You know, men are very fearful of the woman's grimaces. It scares us.
woman's what?
Grimaces. The look.
A face, making a face.
We have so many different classes on this.
that's so funny.
Because of the mother, because it reminds us of the mother.
And she think they're totally oblivious to that.
We're
Now
not,
they're
trust we're not oblivious, it makes it into the top 10.
Wow.
You know,
But it's the,
Yeah.
it's the more, the abuse in the relationship begins, the second respect is no longer present. The second you're no longer focused on maintaining the other person's dignity, whether it's in looks, words, actions, that's when the abuse actually begins. You don't have to wait until the hand, and the hand is only reason, the word, the curses, or it only comes out because the
what's
person
on before.
the person doesn't care about the safety of your person. They don't care to put them down to make them feel like they're not good. What's the difference? The second you could go speak to your friends about what's happening in a relationship. In other words, you don't care about the dignity and the sanctity.
Mhm.
And so that means there's no respect. And there's no respect is the safeguard of the love. It's like the fence that protects a home. If there's no respect, everything just flows right out.
Very true, very true. To answer your question though, you said,
Yeah.
what if if one side is giving a lot more than the other side
Mhm.
is? You have to ask yourself the question, am I giving to give or am I giving to get? Right? You have to give to give. What the other person does with that is not in your control.
Mhm.
You need to give and. that's
In
it.
relationship is okay.
In a relationship, it's okay.
Because for the
It's-
kids, we do a lot. We do a lot, but we don't want them to give us back. But for relationship, we need to get it back.
Nachas for my kids. I don't want them to just say, okay, thanks, mom, bye-bye.
No, and we had this in our parenting class, and we're just about to restart the parenting class. Parents, from the Torah's perspective, have no, I don't know how to say this properly, no rights for nachas from their children. We're not here to
right.
receive nachas from our children.
Yeah, you told me that.
We're here to raise our children based on what they need. But what they do need, children need to know to respect, chip in with chores, with words.
Mhm.
That is an absolute need that they need in order to grow up to be healthy adults. Because when you have children, and when you say you're such a good boy, you're such a good, you don't mean that. What you really mean is that quality is going to make for a good husband, a good friend, a good wife, a good boss, because you're really setting them up for life. In Hebrew, chinuch means inauguration. You're inaugurating a human being for life. So it's not about receiving nachas. We're not here to be enriched by our children, but for the children's sake, you should have a set of expectation. How they speak to you, how they're not allowed to speak, what they need to do at home, chores from 3 years old, they have to have chores. They need to know that they're expected to chip in and to have the way they speak to mom and dad.
For them than it is.
Yeah, it's only for them.
Right.
Only for them.
It's only for them.
You're helping them become, right.
Different parenting, everybody has different.
There are, but all
For
of them,
sure.
all of them come down to, when somebody like a parent, a child could chas v'shalom, disrespect their mother, speak in an incongruent way to the mother. Sometimes the mother says, "You can't speak to me this way." That doesn't really mean anything.
But we should.
No, you shouldn't speak to a mother this way. This is not the way to speak to a mother, because what's going to happen later on, he's going to be speaking to his wife this way as well. I once had in my Hebrew school, I had a kid in my bar mitzvah, prep course in the Hebrew school, and he was with me. I have great classroom management with the kids, and he was really easy going with me, and we had a good rapport. And one day, his parents.
And that's a great story.
Yeah, the parents says they sends me aside after the class and says, "Rabbi, we have a very urgent matter to speak to you about." Sit down, and he says, "Well, what happened?" He says, "Let's just call him David." David started cursing his mom. He's calling her the B word. And I was like, "What?" How could it doesn't seem he speaks this way. He says, "Yeah, he's been speaking to me like this. He's been screaming at me this way. He's calling him B and this." I said, "Well, you got to tell him. You have to sit down and have a meeting with him." He says, "Listen, David, we know we put you in public school, and in public school you hear this kind of language, but at home we don't speak that way. Just not healthy. You don't speak." And it's like I stepped on a landmine, because all of a sudden there was an awkward silence, and then the mother like burst out to the husband. You see, you speak to me this way. Now he is copying you and speaking to me this way. And what did the husband have the gall and the ignorance to say? He says, "Are you drawing that comparison? Me calling you a B and him calling you a B?
That's silly.
Yeah, how could you say he learned from me? He's never seen me berate my mother. I would never speak that way to my mother.
Wow.
So he can't be learning this from me. I don't speak that way to my mother. I only speak that way to you."
Oh my gosh.
And understand that we have to role model and so forth, but at the same time, it's not that you can't speak to me that way. You don't speak to a mother that way.
That's a very good point.
This is your truth, not because you're hurting my integrity or my dignity. Any mother, you don't speak to this way.
Rabbi, what are the sources for that? That we're not supposed to, think that we deserve to have nothing from Torah.
We had maybe 29 sessions.
No, but is it like in Latanya?
Yeah, no, it's in
I don't
Talmud.
remember learning that.
Right, so it's in Talmud, it's in Shulchan Aruch, it's in Maimonides, it's in Midrashim, it's in Musar, it's laid in everywhere. We're going to restart the class again, and we're going to really focus on this. But yeah, it's everywhere.
No, I think that what you're saying is like, yes, you would love to see nachat from your children, right? It gives you joy to see that your children are doing things that are great, right? But I think Rabbi is saying that it's not like a mandatory thing that we should be expecting that of a child. I think it's two different things of what you're saying, what like you would want to see. Like everybody sitting at this table that has children wants to see nachat from their children, right? You want your children to be great, you want your children to be healthy, you want your children to be, but none of those things are things that you want because they're to satiate you, right? To complete you. I think that's the
Yeah, because mothers who do this, or fathers who do this incidentally, really risk of inducing so much lifelong anxiety in children. There's so much, there's so much.
What? Say, no, I mean.
Expectation, you mean?
Yes, it doesn't matter what you're doing,
You have to do your best and let Hashem do the
You-
rest.
you-
It's
you-
not about,
You're
not
your
about that.
Brinks truck driver, which means you might have $1 billion of merchandise or cash in the back, but you're not a single cent richer. You're just there to get from point A to point B and defend it with your life. And that's it. You're gaining nothing out of it. You're doing this for God. Very simple. You're raising an ambassador for God in this world, not to be your calling card. There's a great TED talk that came out maybe 12 years ago, 13, I don't know, somewhere. It's I think the title is a difference between secular and Jewish parenting. And the one who spoke about it was, I'm not sure if he was Jewish. I don't remember I don't remember him being visibly Jewish. Maybe it's just years ago. But one of the things that he drew out very pointedly is that non-Jewish parenting is all about creating a calling card for you. So someone will be there to take care of you when you're older, someone who gives you nachat like a trophy child, and not embarrass you. That's why Russians, let me tell you that the amount of guilt that we receive from
But
parents.
that can go the other way too. Let's say you have a child that isn't doing whatever X, Y, and Z expectation that you're putting on him, and the parent suddenly feels less than because of that.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Could you translate that? You know how many we all grew up with those words?
Right.
Yeah, it's true.
You're embarrassing me. I don't want to be
Nothing
embarrassed.
do with
Exactly. I want that. I want this, and it's like.
every move. Yeah, it's a problem. It's a problem.
And basically the child becomes nothing more.
I guarantee you have it in Farsi too. I just haven't learned the word yet. I'll get back to you.
I think that is what, you know, I actually have a question for you, Liz. My name's Esther, by the way.
Yes.
About what you said about respect, right? You said respect and liking someone align with each other. But like I know I had teachers in high school and in university that I respected, but I didn't like them at all.
Would you really respect them?
For years, respected them because they had, you know, whatever
Depended on.
years that, you know, they'd written in journals and they were very important people and we respect them. It doesn't mean that we like them. I just think.
When we're talking about relationships, people that you actually have relationships with, right? With your spouse, with your children, with your friends, with your family members. Those people, in order to respect them, you have to like them. And if in order to like them, you need to respect them. It goes hand in hand. You can't say, I respect my mother, but I don't like her. Can you say that?
Yeah, well, I think you can. And also as far as love, I think the love is the important part more than the respect. Because respect, like one day you can be really mad at someone and say, I really don't respect you, right? But I still love you.
You don't
That's the
respect the
fun-
behavior. So there's a difference between a symptom or a behavior that you don't like versus liking or respecting the person as a whole. Right?
So you don't
Is
think
it-
the respect has to be earned every day?
No,
It's just supposed
no.
to be natural.
No.
Nope.
Like,
Yeah, this is basic tenets of humanity. You might not like a person because you don't respect them. Why? Because, well, I respect the fact that, like you said, for your professors, they got this and this credential, or they wrote this publication, so forth. But I don't like I don't like the style, or I don't like this. And it's because you don't see their uniqueness, and that's what got them to where they are, their style, and you might not like that style because it doesn't jive with you. But in respecting them, you understand that this is who they are, that's how they function, that's what makes them unique. And although that uniqueness is unique from you, you're not the same as them, and they're not the same as you. You respect and safeguard that. And that's normal, that's healthy. Otherwise, everybody has to be like you. This is what the world is preaching. You have to be unique like everybody else.
Right, like just like what we tell our kids sometimes, I love you and I respect you, but I'm very, but at the moment, I'm very upset or very disappointed with something that you just did. You did X, Y, and Z, and that's very disappointing. We don't behave like this. But just because I'm upset with you right now doesn't mean that I don't love you and respect you. Right?
Everybody just talk like that to their kids. it'll
Just,
be a
no,
great
just the
world.
opposite.
Well, there'll be a great.
That
world.
in itself, you could only speak that way to your child. And
If
there's,
you respect.
and
them.
there's
Do
one,
something that makes
and-
you lose respect.
wait a second,
And
wait a
then
second,
say
one
something.
second, what is it?
Wait.
Behavior.
Your aim is to raise them. That's the aim. That's your job. That's what you're given.
Yeah.
That's your God-given mission, to raise them from being selfish creatures to becoming a man, somebody humane, someone who's
Yeah,
mind.
but my goal is to
but-
raise a man-child like
No,
that.
but that's.
No, but that's what, but
That's exactly-
you're not listening to what he's saying.
And that's what you're saying.
That's why he's saying
You could-
specifically what I said
Right.
is specifically geared towards child. You're not,
You say,
listen,
and you know
listen.
why I'm disappointed? Not because I'm disappointed in you. I'm not disappointed in the fact you hurt my feelings. I'm disappointed because I know you better, and I know you're better than that.
You're better.
And you're not being yourself, or you're not aligned with yourself. And that hurts because I know you, and I know that you could do better for you.
Say
have
that
to speak up to them.
a spouse.
You say that to anyone, but specifically you're talking to your
To a
your
child.
children. Your children are the only one.
Specifically.
Your children are the only one that you're not only should, but you're and at least in the first 13 years, and you're there to constantly raise them. I know I love you the way you are. I love you who you are, but you could do better. And I'm not gonna allow you to, we learned in our parenting class, if the first, you have to give two things to your children. And one of the first thing is self-mastery. The ability to ebb away from complacency, from mediocrity, to allow, oh, it's too hard for you, I don't wanna push you, it's too much for you, it's okay, you don't have to walk today, it's gonna be cold, you don't have to go, don't worry about it. But in other words, you're setting up for life, and if it's gonna make you feel, I don't wanna push it because it makes me feel bad.
But like Liz gave an example where the mom made food for the kids and then there wasn't the food that the husband liked. And so he had a right to be upset, but like, he's out all day
I
and
didn't
he's on
get
his
that
way home.
example.
No, Rabbi did.
Yeah, but that's different.
But, I mean, he can just stop, right, at real time,
No.
get himself some food. he-
No, Rabbi gave that example, and I said it's important to respect your husband. The husband comes home and there's no food on the table
there's food.
because she decided to be on a diet, right? If that was the case, then she should have said to him, honey, listen, I'm not making dinner tonight. Can you pick up something from Girl Point? Not wait until he gets home, he's tired, he's hungry, and home,
Communicate.
a home for, a home, especially for, I say man, because he's the one that usually is out
You weren't
working all
saying-
day long. It could be the woman as well.
Hold on.
It's just the point that they're out all day. The home is supposed to be your haven. You need to come home and feel like, this is my safe space. This is where I thrive. This is where I can put my guard down and feel good.
Before coming
They
home.
shouldn't
And you
have
should
to
not-
feel like, oh my God, now I'm in a battlefield.
Should I pick something
No,
up?
no,
No.
Mordechai,
No,
Surprise
no.
his wife.
No.
No.
A guy should not be calling home to say, ask his wife, is there anything home? Should I pick something up for
Or
myself?
do you need me to get milk on my way?
Esther, you should know one thing. The Goffman Institute is considered to be one of the top, not the top
That's an anomaly.
marriage institution in the world,
Yes.
run by a frum Jew, Mordechai Goffman.
And
And his
it's.
wife, and they actually scientifically patented a way to be able to determine the viability of a couple up to 94%. And he tracked it down to one word, where the collapse of the where the crack of the marriage, which eventually would end up with collapse, comes down to one word: value. The
Which one?
second you don't
Value.
feel
Value.
valued in your own home, because you don't expect the world to value you. It's great when the world values you or for what you're able, your capabilities. But the second you don't feel valuable in your own home to your own spouse, that's when the checkout begins.
Okay.
So he comes home and says nothing, Like, well, I had I think I had a cracker. That's great, but it's not necessary that the husband can't go and buy and purchase food. He wants to know that his
He
wife.
can make his own food, but at that moment that he's asking her, the response needs to be, okay, honey, I'll make you something now. I'm sorry I didn't do it till now, because that's what he's asking for.
Or she could say, listen, when I was on this diet, it was very difficult for me to smell food and or I couldn't touch certain things. So what you can say, maybe she's on this diet and she can't touch these things or whatever it is. But you can say, listen, I might, if you don't mind, pick up some food. I'll make it up to you in a different way. In other words, it's a give and receive. So it is.
Communication.
The Talmud says, what's a marker of a bad wife? That she puts the food in front of him and walks away. She doesn't sit next to him to
Or she
join them.
burns his.
Well, that's
That's grounds for divorce.
that's not for divorce. But
It's very like patriarchal, like I just think.
patriarchal.
God can just say like.
It
hey,
could
No,
be
it's
the
not
woman too. If the woman's the breadwinner, she's out all day, and he's the one that takes care of the home, then it goes along with it. If she's the one
Yeah.
if he's the one that's making dinner, she comes home and it's, it works the same way.
I know women who work longer hours and more hours than men do, and the men run the house and the women
Exactly.
are out to work.
I
But
also
they
think
could
that
do
it's.
they could do mutually. In other words, it's not even if he or she or both of them, they both need to constantly invest together.
You wanna be
If-
with your mom?
Here's the thing, in marriages, it's extremely important
Very
to
hard.
have
Very hard.
clear, like, lines, whose job is what. Before this melding of men and women being one and everyone has to do everything, it was very clear whose job was what, right? And things were a lot easier, because if dinner wasn't made, everyone knew who to go to. If money didn't come in, everyone knew who to go to,
Mhm.
okay?
Right.
Now that everything is everyone, it's become everyone does everything and everyone is responsible for everything,
Right.
which means that no one is responsible for anything. Okay?
Or you
That's-
or you communicate and you designate.
That's right. So in order to have a solid marriage, in order to be able to have a home that runs smoothly, it needs to be stated whose job is what. And everyone needs to take that responsibility in their homes as to whose job is what. Right? And if that person can't do that job at a given time, you just communicate, honey, I can't do it today.
Right.
Do you know what I did today for the first time in my life? I actually delegated.
Oh, good for you.
Really? No, for real.
Proud of you.
Another day before today, I would have been running and doing and making and this and that at the same time and whatever. And today, I was in the middle of something, and my son called and said, "Mom, I'm ready to get picked up." And my husband was already home. And I said, "Babe, can you do me a favor? Can you go pick up Ethan?"
It took you all
See
those
the
years?
words?
Yes.
But you see the words?
Yes.
used? Because she sees it as her job. to do
Because
that.
I'm always trying to jump through hoops to do everything and fill everything in, because I see him as like the breadwinner, the husband. He works hard all day. He comes home exhausted. And then when he comes home, I want to relieve him of like all that type of stuff. But I'm trying to,
But the words
do
that you use.
like a mind shift.
Alona.
He didn't mind.
But is it also because you like things done a certain way?
No, it's not because I'm a
And
control
that's-
freak.
all of that is, I'm sorry, I have
No,
to
it's
say
not.
something. The way
I'm not
you
a control
said it, the way you said it is what is key, right? You could have easily in your mind justified it and said, I always do it. He's home, he can. do it."
Right.
You know what? Why don't you go pick him up? Right? She said, can you do me a favor and go? Very, very different. Very, very. That's right. That's right. It's how you, exactly. But that's also vulnerability on her part, saying, you know what, I need help.
Yeah.
You know what, I know it's my job
Well,
or
it's his son too.
But it's how.
not the point. Not the point. She sees it as her responsibility, and that's what I was trying to get at before. There needs to be clear-cut boundaries. Whose responsibility is what? When you start melding into everybody's responsibility is everything, becomes problematic in
So
relationships.
before marriage, you should say, whose job is it to pick up kids? I mean, that's.
Yeah,
Actually, yes.
yes, that's it's part of-
Actually,
it's part
that's
of-
how
part of the
people,
shidduchim.
yes.
Yes, yes.
Yes.
I'm not kidding. It's part of the shidduchim.
No, it's true.
It's part of the dating.
No, don't worry about
Dating
that.
should,
It's true.
You got it.
dating should not be, go watch a movie, have sushi and everything, and
There are a lot of
you have
things
to
that should be
communicate
discussed
the
prior to.
nitty-gritty, like what do we envision? What's-
It is.
There's certain, you can't think.
Whatever you want to talk about goes, and the clearer you are in marriage and what is whose and what is what, the easier it is to actually go on with your life.
Understand one thing, that we don't get married in order to give flowers, to write poetry, to give gifts, and we don't.
Why not?
But marriage, you could do all of that. You could do all of those.
We already talked about it, you missed it.
You could do all
Oh,
of
you were here?
those outside of marriage. Marriage, on the other hand, does require all of those. So while what we're coaching and Ilona, or Representative Ilona is saying is those behaviors, what the set jobs and the framework, that's a framework for where the love could flow. If those items are not there, then it's just concept. You don't, if this is true for just a medial or any type of job interview, that you don't come to interview for a job. It's like, oh, we have a job, you like it, come in. You go to the nitty-gritty.
Right.
The terms.
What's expected, what
expected, and
expectation.
so on and so forth. And that's in a job that you're spend 9 to 5 in. This is your life. It's okay to update, as we said before, it's okay to update. Well, at the beginning, I thought this was going to be a problem, but now our life shifted, or maybe my needs shifted, or your needs shifted. It's okay to constantly update, but so long as that's part of the repertoire, part of the ongoing conversation.
Mhm.
Otherwise,
It's true.
how else can the love flow between the couple? Unless they're constantly doing for each other, unless they're constantly going out of their way to do for each other.
So when it's clear what each is supposed to do and you do for each other, all the more
You are.
That's
going
a
to
framework, right,
yeah.
yeah.
Can I ask a
right.
question?
Yeah.
Does it state in our, I don't know if it's the Torah or any other text, but does it state clearly what the roles are for a man and a woman in Jewish halacha?
Yeah.
So how are we supposed to? How are we supposed to go by that in like this modern society where everything, like she was saying, is mishmash and everybody can do everything? Like, how do we preserve that?
You see, remember one thing,
That's his.
Torah book, as we have the relationships class over here every single Tuesday night, and we had the art of marriage, we see that the points that the Torah brought thousands of years ago are just as innovative today. And all psychology, behavioral psychology, it's all catching up to what the Torah, because it's a blueprint. So it's not like, well, how could we live with archaic values in modern times? And that would be an issue. The truth of the matter is, Torah stems from Hashem's infinite will and wisdom. And they reveal Hashem's infinite will and wisdom. And infinity isn't localized to a time and a place. It's going to be relevant at all times and all places. Question is, how do we understand it? So, for example, when Rambam writes that a man needs to love his wife as much as himself and respect her exceedingly more, and wife needs to put her husband as a center of attention, today we see how much marriage psychology focuses on those terms and those values as the framework for a relationship. Question is, what does that look like localized between this individual couple, or in the culture, in the home as an overall for the entire family? That's to be discussed between the husband and wife, and perhaps a mentor, a rabbi, a rebbe, whatever it is. But we have to constantly bring that into our space, because what it's interesting enough, what's actually archaic is Disney's and Western cultures, movies and music, and I grew up with that, with music and But that's archaic. And it's archaic because it doesn't work. You know, in a movie it works, in a song it works. But it doesn't work in a relationship in modern times. That's archaic. If we live with the Torah values, in other words, it doesn't mean for us to let go of our uniquenesses. The only question is, how do I express my uniqueness through this lens of Torah? Right? And Torah has the nitty-gritty for every type of personality, every single type of ups and downs and everything. Just join with us.
Yes, Kim.
I wanted to make a couple of observations based on your discussion. So food preparation. So I was married, but now divorced. And I found a little bit surprising because the conversation about who's going to prepare the food never came up. Whoever is home first, and both of us had full-time jobs. We had nanny, and more often than not, each of us cooked a lot better than nanny. So whoever comes home first would end up cooking.
So that wasn't understood in
That-
your
that was never
household. That wasn't
discussed. No,
understood,
that
right?
was
So
never
it wasn't
discussed.
understood.
That wasn't understood, yeah.
That wasn't understood.
Right.
But it wouldn't be the same for everyone. There are some households.
That's why I just
right.
found it a little bit peculiar that
Yeah.
in some cases. And so the other one is, so there was discussed this, you have to negotiate everything and discuss during a shidduch process, right? So during life changes and the responsibilities are dynamic, so they also change. So I guess people have to be flexible because a person works in the office and at some point works from home, so responsibilities change.
Correct.
So you're not gonna say, well, when we met, you know, I said, I'm not gonna do this and this, so, and I'm not
Yes.
gonna do it.
Yes, nothing is set in stone.
Yeah.
Right, nothing's.
And one other observation I would say is, I wish when, let's say, you know, a man and a woman meet, like during the dating process, if they could meet with someone like you and fill out this questionnaire and have this half an hour discussion. It's much trouble.
That's what we're working on.
We've been talking about this for,
Make it a prerequisite.
that's what we want. That's Liz's,
Listening to responses of the other person could basically give you a projection, right?
Yes.
Whether it's working
There's
or not.
Yes.
There's a game that I would highly recommend. When I sit with couples, and as recently as I've been also sitting with couples who are dating, engaged maybe a year into their engagements and so on and so forth. It's funny and not funny how little time, as much as it could be engaged for a year or 2 years, they don't know each other. Because most of those days go on watching a movie together, eating sushi, and like it has no real value of communication. What's the nitty gritty? So there's a game called The Skin Deep, The End, the AND. There's a 10-year version of it, the 10-year and up marriage, for marriage. There is dating, there is family, for younger kids, for older kids, business partners, strangers, friends. And I use it, and I use it. They recommend usually you amongst yourselves, you pull out 12 cards and you sit and you have to go through all the questions and so on and so forth. Usually when I sit with a couple, we go through maybe 3 cards in 4 hours. When you really dissect the questions and the answers and what the answers, by the end of that session, they become so much more familiar with each other. It's cool.
So something
The
that
end.
Rabbi is saying, by the time a couple feels like they need to go to a rabbi or a coach or something, it's gone through so many difficult layers that once they get to a rabbi or a coach, it takes 4 hours to get through 3 cards.
Yeah,
So
I
the
wish
singles-
it would come to us in the beginning of the year, 'cause
Exactly.
not
So
the
the
tail end.
singles out there and then new couples out there, bravo to you guys for doing
Right?
things for yourselves before that, right? Having that foundation early on in
Mhm.
your marriages or even before your relationships.
God bless you.
Thank you.
Is key. It's absolutely key.
There's a word for it. But what the coach is saying, a culture of communication. What culture is prevalent in your home? What kind of a culture do you
Right.
have? And I think the culture is the environment. How do we deal with this? How do we negotiate with this? How do we take incongruencies? How do we express love? What's our hours of communications are spent? And to know that these love languages are relevant and should be prevalent and should be highlighted and actually focused on a daily basis. And that's our culture.
Right,
The
but
culture of
all that
connection.
stuff of how we react all comes from epigenetics and what we
But
saw
the
and how we
we-
learned
right, the
as.
we
But if
need-
we,
I just want to say something to the singles, right? These love languages, you may look at it and say, well, you know, I'm not married now, so what's the difference? There's a big difference. When you know your own love languages, when you know what is important for you, right? You're taking a lot of guesswork out. When you're going into a relationship and you're putting it out there that, you know, this is what's important for me. It takes so much of the ups and downs and trying to figure out what you actually like and don't like, you know? It takes a
Right.
lot of it, a lot of that stress goes away.
because you go in knowing a lot of your hard yeses and a lot of your hard no's.
Very much so.
And
I
you know
think at
what
the
to
end-
compromise on and what not to compromise on. No marriage or no relationship is perfect,
that's
but you
it.
have your things that are like your core, super important to you according to your own value system. And then the things that you can, you know, compromise and that are not so.
Very much so.
important.
And you're able to express to the person that's going to be with you what's important to you,
Mhm.
right? And at the end of the day, I just want to finish this up with one key thing.
I still have questions here.
Oh, we'll do, okay.
And we have
So, no, finish
Go
up your
ahead.
thing. Fima has a question and then I'll finish
Go
with
ahead.
those questions.
I think, telling picking up on what Coach has said. I have a theory about it. I haven't seen it in black and white, so you could take it and leave it. But our love languages may express the way love was transmitted to us as a child, or it wasn't. So when I remember, when I came to understand that the way I understand love, it is directly emanates from the way my savta raised me.
For you mean?
For
you
me,
in
she would scratch
particular,
my back
right.
and sing me a song, and she would buy me this food, or she would make for me. She picks my grandfather. That's how I understood love,
Possible,
Mhm.
and that's what for me.
I actually agree with you 100%.
very possible.
Because
has a
I
question.
see my love
The
language, I
things
see
that
my
you're
husband's love
craving.
language, and it's hardly.
The
Oh, the
things
thing
that
is,
you're
you didn't receive, and I
But you received at some
At
point
some
and now
point,
you're
right,
missing it.
right,
It's,
yeah,
perfect, makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Could be.
okay. What's
Sorry, go ahead. What was your
This
question?
is
Yeah.
related to what you said in the rabbi. So when two people are dating, rabbi said that if they go to a movie, they don't really accomplish anything. It seems based on some observation of other couples and my own experience that the only way you find out about the other person if there is some kind of a stressful situation or life event, or you did something wrong, and you're looking at how that person reacts. Because during, say, relationship or marriage, if everything goes wrong, more likely than not, everything will be going fine. But if something bad happens, seeing how that person will react and
Will react or respond.
respond, or explode, or just say, okay, so it's not a
But
big deal.
there's three things that you want to see before marriage. One is how the person, Rabbi, tell me the one is how the person spends their money, how they act when they're drunk, and how they act when they're angry,
Right.
correct?
Yeah. So money,
That's from the Torah.
oh, really?
It is?
Kiso
I never knew that. What if I never got drunk?
You gotta get him drunk.
That's what I'm saying, what?
It's Kisakaso and Koso Kisukaso.
Right.
That's in
And by the way,
Turkey.
I've never seen him drunk. I'm picking on you tonight, aren't I?
Rabbi, is it in
Wow.
He's here. That's really nice.
No.
ستاره میشه بگی چی بود؟
Wait, drunk?
Seeing the person drunk, seeing the person angry, and seeing how he spends his money.
Spending
Because all of those.
یعنی خسیس نباشه یا زیاد خرج کنه.
Both.
and
All the-
money
all those-
hungry.
When a person goes there, either secret comes out,
Yeah.
their filters, their
Their
conscious filters.
inhibition.
Right, whatever is coming, whatever, the way they spend their money shows their inner security and their confidence and their trust.
No, makes sense.
And their anger is how they are able to self-regulate.
I just never knew there was.
All their,
Yeah. Okay. What do we got next?
How do love languages show up in parent-child relationships?
Oh, that's a good one. Okay. So parent-child relationships, very profoundly, actually. So, what if you have a child whose primary love language is words of affirmation, right? So they're craving the acknowledgement, they're craving, I'm proud of you, they're craving whatever to that feeling of being affirmed. And the parent only does acts of service. I cook for you, I clean for you, I have a house over your head, you have food on the table, what else do you want from me? Right? That child is never going to feel completely fulfilled. So knowing what your child's love language is going to help a parent be able to express themselves and give that child a more fulfilling experience.
there's a terrific video, a 9-minute video, I highly recommend.
Focus your parenting,
Huh?
the focus your parenting.
Parenting with poker.
Oh, that was great.
I'll put it on the chat.
9 minutes,
That's really
it's so worth it.
I have a question.
I'll put it on
Parenting
the
with
chat.
poker chips.
At what age do we find out our child's love language?
Or poker chip parenting.
A 0.
Like my daughter's 3 and I don't know.
It's 0.
How
You
do I
You should take a bunch of these questions, literally, and
He can have this one. I'm gonna.
put it
Is
in
it
words
old
that you
version
can
or new version?
understand and see which
Yeah.
one resonates.
You could.
You're gonna get a feel.
You could also just naturally
Got it.
gauge, see when is she
That's not-
skewed, when is she
when you-
regulated? Is it when you speak to her,
Right.
when you pet her, you scratch her back? Or when you like, sometimes for some people, if it's gift. I know somebody who was in trauma, that was traumatized, and the parents were advised to every other day to give a small gift, one day of food, something cheap, or not something not expensive, I should say. And the next day, it's inexpensive tchotchke, like something small, but every other day, it's just literally put into their hands. And that melted a lot of barriers over quickly.
Wow.
You can gauge it, see when they feel more soothed, more regulated.
That's right. Absolutely. This questionnaire is great to get you started, but there are other ways of finding your own love language. When we say gauge yourself, engage your spouse, engage the people around you is exactly what the rabbi said. Just look and see how they react
Yeah.
to words or gifts or whatever. Lovely moderator. What else do we have?
Sorry, Avi, nobody has.
How do we bring back connection during disagreements?
What was that?
How do we bring back connection during disagreements?
That's a false question.
Hard question.
It's not a question. A disagreement should never affect the connection. If God forbid, one or the other feels that our connection could be interrupted by a unique perspective, it's going to create a fear that the other one won't be able to communicate. Rather, and the same applies to parents and children. We should never make the children feel that there's something so taboo you could say or do that we're going to stop loving you, that you're going to be disappointed in my eyes, I'm
Right.
going to be embarrassed from you, that I have to engage in you because you're not there. I can't love you as much as you need it. If only you did this, I love. The same thing with how much more so when it comes to spouses. There shouldn't be a point where your unique perspective or take on life, although it might be so different than mine, could interrupt our connection. The connection is essential. It's why and how we do. Put it this way, who is it? Viktor Frankl says, when you have the whys, define no how is insurmountable. In other words, the why is because we're one, because we're connected. That's why we're talking. That's what we're dealing with. This. That's what, because we're there to meld and to reveal how this detail, although it could be so far-fetched, how this actually enhances our connection. But if, God forbid, we feel that at any given point that we have a disagreement, I'm not talking about like, like I think we should live in France and you should live in Iran, and that's what we're gonna do. But I'm talking about like, the major disagreement that we have, it's okay to have a unique perspective. And that's not gonna affect, and that's the worst thing a couple could do, that because of an argument, they stop acting connected. In marriage psychology, they teach that and this goes back to the beginning of our class, that the health of a relationship isn't gauged in the good times. You don't have to have a healthy relationship for when things are good to be hunky-dory with each other. It's specifically what you do in the quote-unquote not good times.
That's right.
Because in those moments, when things are not good, it's the animal soul wants to retract. What should I do for you?
The
What should I
ego
cook?
kicks in.
What should I cook for you? What should I do for this for you? Why should I talk to you? Why should I give you any of these love languages when we're in disagreement? Just the opposite. At that moment, you show that actually the fact that you could still do that shows how deep that connection really is. And if you can't go past that disagreement, it means something is flawed with the disconnection, with the connection.
So disagreements are normal in any relationship. Arguing is not a problem. How you argue is the problem.
Right.
If you're going to, when you're arguing, go after the person's personality and the person's character, that's a big problem. You need to stick to the facts, lower your voice, hold hands, speak like a person, have a conversation, communicate properly. It's very important. And at the end of the day, many arguments can be handled in this way. Think to yourself, do I want to be right or do I want to be happy?
That's true.
Many times, right?
Yeah.
Do I want to be right or do I want to be happy? If it's not important, just let it go and move on. It's really not that big of a deal. It's our ego. It kicks in. Oh, no, but I know I'm right, but I know I'm right, but I need to be right. Okay, you're right.
And
And, right? Go ahead.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Yes, Rina.
I'm
Aisha,
going to
Tequila.
talk about myself personally. I have this bad habit of when I'm disappointed, and it's not because it's my personal relationship, it's with any relationship, I retract from the person. I could ignore them for a day or I don't know, I just pull away, and that's my defense mechanism.
Right.
How do I stop it?
Well, you're saying it. You said it. It's a defense mechanism, and a defense mechanism stems from the animal soul, from the ego's need to protect itself. Because the animal soul, the ego, is the soul that gives us corporal life, and it has a consciousness, and it's responsible to protect us for survivability. If we were hurt at any given point, when we're vulnerable, especially when we're vulnerable, the animal soul, as we spoke about it last week in the relationship class, is going to create what's called the negativity bias. And it's going to be recorded for training purposes forever and encode itself into the genetic level and transfer to the children and the grandchildren, so forth, all out of a need to survive. But when you know this is a defense mechanism, the negativity bias will record every detail regarding this experience and encode itself so deep into the unconscious that is going to highlight the person who did it, the age, the look, the smell, the place. And at all points, the mind is always going to be vigilant at those points, even making the person very sensitive to potential pain. So they could react very quickly when there's perceived pain, even though it's not blatantly there. But when you know that's a defense mechanism, and a particular defense mechanism which could impede the relationship over time, because as John Covey says, the main thing is to keep the main thing the main thing. right? And so, and the main thing of a relationship is the connection. The main thing right now is to keep the connection as a highlight. So yeah, I might be hurt. You might be hurt. This is okay, but the main thing is the connection right now, not the
Rabbi,
hurt.
just
The question: how do we meld it into that? How do we negotiate this? How do I explain to you that these words don't, that they're hurt our connection, that they're hurt my ability to consciously give? Like we have to be able to let go of those defense mechanisms because they're actually just keeping us locked up. The aim is not to employ these defense mechanisms at all given moment. Yeah, they're there for a reason, but for the most part, we shouldn't be like in some sort of a corner in a defense position, but rather to be able to negotiate, to say, look, this style of communication, this is not healthy for us. It's not good for us. It's going to hurt our conscious ability to connect. I love you no matter what. I'm going to be devoted no matter what. But I can have this kind of conversation because it triggers me. And triggers me means I have an unhealed wound from my childhood that hurts each time it's touched. I've yet to heal it within myself. But understand that each time you flicker it, it hurts. And I retract. I'm working on it, but I need your help, and I'm inviting you to be part of the healing. And you have to be deliberately saying that, because otherwise, what you're going to do, the natural thing is get away from me. I don't want to talk to you. You're this and that, because that's the natural way. Weeds just blow up, get away, retract, shut down, shut the other person down. Because that's the, because people say, well, to speak that the way you just suggested, that's like sort of awkward and well, what's the alternative? Shut down anger, screaming, resentment, crying. What's the alternative to this? Yeah, this is hard and this is hard. Just choose your heart.
Look, it's one thing to walk away because it's better to walk away at that moment. If you don't, it's going to escalate, right? Sometimes that physical walking away from a situation just to take a breath, to be able to come back and respond properly rather than react, is not a bad thing. However, the more important part to that is you have to come back. You have to come back and handle whatever it was that was triggering, whatever that conversation was. You can't just cut it off, walk away, and that's it. And then 3 days later, like nothing ever happened, because then it will keep coming back. You have to resolve. And the person that walks away is the one that has to bring it up. They're the one that has to bring it up. You can't wait for the other person to come after you.
But you have to, yeah, this is so, what Coach just says is so powerful. So powerful. It's totally okay to say I'm feeling that I've become overwhelmed right now. I don't want to say anything or do anything, so I need time. But the one who's calling that time out has to quantify and qualify it. Quantify it by saying, I need half an hour, whatever, I need that walk. But just like the coach said, this is so important. The one who calls a timeout must re-engage, come back and re-engage. Otherwise, you're going to trigger abandonment issues in the spouse, a feeling of rejection.
And it will come back, even if they forget about it 3 days later, 3 months later, it will come back.
And worse,
And worse.
someone who actually experienced this, a parent walking away when they're too overwhelmed, or a spouse who walks away, often what you're going to see is that one who's walked away from could be infuriated by it, not even know understanding why, because it triggers their sense of rejection, that they're being rejected and abandoned. So they're going to not going to let them walk away, they're going to follow them, and they're going to follow them everywhere. No, I want to talk now. I want to deal with this now. I want to look now. So I said, any time. Why? Because in their mind, they're not taking a pause. They're rejecting them.
Yes.
And they're not coming back. They're not going to come, I'm coming back for you. I'm not abandoning us. I just need time to be able to recuperate my ability to respond to the situation. For us, I'm not leaving you because you're too much for me at this point. Because that's going to create a series of reactions afterwards.
How do I help my partner feel more appreciated?
Well, appreciation is oxygen. Appreciation is oxygen. Everything comes down to that. Without it, the relation, just like without oxygen, you're gonna suffocate. Without appreciation, a relationship will suffocate. You have to bring a appreciation into relationships and every relationship, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't take a grand gesture though, a simple thank you. Notice something that you didn't notice before. It's basically saying, I see you, right? I acknowledge your presence. I acknowledge you.
Yeah, but I would say that more just with these love languages, to say appreciation. There was a show on Married with Children. And I mean, like that show, I mean, Sarah Hands in Ruin America. Literally.
Yes.
I knew it by heart. I knew every episode by heart.
That was a funny one.
Yeah, because it was called the Anti-Cosby Show.
Love
That was a working title. But
No, I don't know that.
it's just because
Decade.
I wanted. It was his wife's birthday, and he wanted to get what did the president got? A bowling ball, knowing that she doesn't bowl. So he got a bowling ball, and when she said, "I don't need it," I was like, "Oh, good, I have a bowling ball now." What's that?
I used to love that show. Mariasha doesn't even know what it is. I'm like, oh, a different decade. You have to look it up. It's hysterical.
Good that show.
It is a really,
No,
yeah.
you know
Yes,
that
you're right.
An appreciation, what it does, it shifts your focus from what's not working to what is working. And the more you focus on the things that are working, the more of those things you're going to see.
Well, the rabbi said also in the relationship class a few weeks ago, you can track the health of your relationship by how many thank yous you gave in the 24-hour period.
Yep,
Oh, that's great.
yep. You have to have at least 3 thank yous a day. 3?
4 in 48 hours.
Oh, 4. Oh, I always say to myself, 3 in a day. I always tell myself, whatever.
Does that work?
Yeah,
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
anything below 2
Yeah.
is dangerous.
Yeah.
It's indicating that a major red flag in a relationship. Above 4 is above average, but 4 is the expected. Because if you can't notice at least 40 hours, if you cannot notice 4 things that your spouse did for you, your significant other did for you in 48 hours, they went to work, they went shopping, they picked up the kids, they picked up the phone, they texted you to tell you what's happening, how you doing, whatever it is. If you can't notice at least 4 things.
If you can't acknowledge it,
Lovebirds,
if
did you
you're
hear
not
that?
seeing it, if you're
4
not
thank
acknowledging
yous
it,
in 48 hours.
that means acknowledging.
Write it
whatever
down.
your spouse is doing.
Write it down.
And by the way, I have to say something. This doesn't go just for your spouse. It goes for your children.
Yeah.
Right.
Right?
Absolutely.
You can even say it to yourself. Thank you. Thank you. You know, seriously.
What about a friend? What
acknowledge
about a
it.
friend, a coworker, in any
Absolutely.
relationship?
In
but
any relationship. And seriously, the more you appreciate, the more the relationship appreciates.
Right, and thank you to yourself. Yeah.
Think about this. I remember when I first started making tshuva, and I heard this several times. There was a question: why does God need us to repeat the same prayers every single day? Like He really needs that. And the answer is there's so many different layers of answering, but on the most rudimentary level, we wake up every morning and thank God thank Hashem for sight, for movement, for the ability to stand, for having clothing and shoes. And well, I have the same eyes from yesterday, the same shoes, but every day we have to bring this relationship into the current. Baruch Hashem for today that I can see. Thank you, God, for that, for today. I know yesterday I had it, I thanked you, but today's a new day and everything is new for me. I've never lived this before. I've never experienced today before. I will never experience again. So for today, I'm going to thank you. We have to find places and it find opportunities to find and thank for what's happening. We're Yehudim, Hoda'ah. we acknowledge, we're the people of thanks, to thank, because the more gratitude we have, the happier the relationship becomes. The less gratitude, and why 48 hours? Why 4 times? Because if you can't at least find it 4 times, it's indicative that the relationship is an autopilot, that you're taking each
You're
other for
taking things for
granted.
granted,
Yeah.
absolutely. If you're not
Right.
present enough to see it,
Right.
then it's an issue. You're absolutely right. But none of these things are anything you can't come back from, right? That's at the end of the day what it is. Being aware of what your spouse or your child or your partner or whoever needs. Being aware of that and giving yourself not only the ability, the certainty, but the desire, but saying, not only why shouldn't I, as Rabbi said, I have to. I have to
I
do
get
this.
to.
I get to.
I get
Even better.
Yeah,
Even
I
better.
I
like
switch
that.
that one word, I have to versus
I like
I get
that.
to, it's a life changer.
100%.
I like that.
I get to
I
do this.
get to.
Thank you.
Father,
Great
give
to
me
see
this,
you.
next- next.
No more?
One more? Oh, yeah, go
I
ahead.
have 2 more.
Yeah, we can. Go ahead.
What if someone's trauma does not allow them to love you in the way that you need?
That's only that it actually we had a whole entire, and that's going to be next week's relationship class. Actually, it's an invitation for growth on both perspectives. The one who has a trauma needs to express the love and the alignment. Yeah, they might have an impediment, but that's the invitation for growth on their part. That's how they're going to come out of that trauma. You can't think your way out of a trauma. You could act your way out of a trauma. And the more you lend yourself to love, to connection, to positivity, to vulnerability, that heals. It's cathartic, it's therapeutic for the person who actually does this. So it's, it says that more than the one who gives, the recipients of tzedakah benefits, the one who gives tzedakah benefits exponentially.
That's right.
Coach Liz brought something before, a mother. The Talmud, Torah actually gives us a great mashal, a practical mashal, for women who nurse their children. Know that when you nurse your babies, the more you nurse, the more milk you produce. The less you nurse, the less milk you produce.
Incredible.
But not only that, when the baby is not nursing and the mother produces, it gorges and it creates so much pain because the milk is chesed, this wine is life. Life has, and the more you give life, the more you're given. So it's, and actually in showing that love, even if you're traumatized and you say, no, I can't, and that's your healing. You can't think yourself out of it. Sometimes you can't even talk your way out of it. If you act consistently in giving, knowing that this is what my marriage needs, this is what my children need, this is what my friend needs, I need to give this. That will take you out of the trauma.
So you're saying it's less about the person that's not able to give because of their trauma and more about the person who's dealing with the person that has the
Right.
trauma and what they are able to bring into the relationship and give to that relationship in order to help that person is essentially helping themselves.
And also on the other hand, the one who's a spouse, the one with the trauma, their tikkun is to make the other one heal, to help the other one heal,
That's it.
make the other one feel safe with their words, with their thoughts, with their this and this and so on and so forth.
Right.
And you know what? You could be, you could be married for years and years and years and not get that point because you take everything from a defense mechanism. You're doing this. How could you do this to me? You're hurting, and you're hurting me. But in reality, it's
Personal, you take it
you take the
personal.
person instead of saying, "Well,
Instead of looking at it as an opportunity, and
Right.
Hashem put this person in my path because
this is my other half, which requires my."
it's for me.
It's for me. Exactly.
Right. The opportunity. At the end of the day,
Yes.
everything is opportunity.
Right. Okay, last question. How to add in respect if one partner constantly disrespects?
That requires that requires perhaps a third person, a third party to get involved, an objective third party. Many times, fortunately, unfortunately, again, we grew up, for our generation, grew up with married children, not realizing what it really was. If you look at the documentary,
Horrific.
Married Children, actually its working title was called The Anti-Cosby Show. And the producers and the writers had one aim, to take the 80s, growing pains and all the 80s, the family ties,
The family
like the family
connection,
unit,
right.
and to
Destroy it,
obliterate
right.
it. Obliterated. So, and it was funny and it was great, and we all knew it. I knew about, we all knew it by heart. But what it did is create such a schism in the family dynamics.
And ugliness.
And like, you can make fun of your parents and this.
So Rabbi, isn't this the same story that you just told with that husband that said to his wife, "But I call you that, I don't call my
Well,
mother that."
Incidentally, they were the same generation. But
Yeah, same mentality, right?
But the reality is, what we have to do is understand that we didn't grow up. We maybe didn't have the best role models for what a healthy, holy relationship should look like. We might have been exposed to media and on all sorts of shapes and music and that just was very antagonistic to healthy relationships. And then there was cultural input that was very antagonistic of what a healthy and holy relationship. What we have to do is divest ourselves from those points and have a conversation. Perhaps they might not be respectful because they weren't raised this way. They were taught the opposite. But to bring a third party into this, not a friend, not a family member, but a genuine third party who's going to be objective to both sides, but have one aim, to make them feel as one, not take sides from each other, but make them feel as one, and to bring this as a source of conversation. Communicate. When I sit with a couple, and I'm sure that when you said one of the first things that we focus on is style of communication, style of negotiation, the ability to receive and grow from constructive criticism. Not to take it as you're hurting me, you're pushing me away, you're saying you like something I don't like, or you're pushing me that I don't like you anymore. We're done. This requires work. A relationship, a healthy relationship, like a fire, requires constant input. Otherwise, it ebbs away. It goes into an ember. It becomes an ember after a while. We'll continue next time.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
One quick one. So, Rabbi, so it says you can learn a lot about the person by seeing how he spends money when he's drunk or angry. What about how he or she treats parents or children?